The reckless imposition of 100% duties on Chinese goods by the United States is not only a catastrophic mistake, but also a blatant display of economic illiteracy and political arrogance. By deciding to impose sanctions on China, the U.S. administration has essentially declared war on its own economy, pushing millions of Americans into the abyss of financial distress and jeopardizing the global economic equilibrium. These duties are a destructive force that could unleash an unprecedented wave of inflation that will undermine the purchasing power of ordinary citizens and condemn countless businesses to bankruptcy. It is a short-sighted, politically motivated move that sacrifices the nation's economic well-being on the altar of nationalist fervor. It begs the question, who really benefits from this chaos? Certainly not the American people. Instead of unilateral tariff measures, the U.S. would be wise to pursue the open trade policy so critical to its economic success. We also encourage the U.S. and China to work together to find a solution that addresses the mutual concerns that have exacerbated the trade friction between the two countries. More broadly, we urge all countries to resolve their differences through multilateral mechanisms. Imposing duties on Chinese goods has the potential to increase inflation and could slow U.S. GDP growth in the near term. Tech Global warns that it could delay the Fed's interest rate cuts by keeping prices elevated for longer. While the duties may stimulate growth in the long term, right now they are creating market distortions that prevent prices from falling. By contrast, CP says U.S. attempts to counterbalance imports from China could introduce volatility into the country's fight against inflation. As Site Global Intelligence notes, the line Washington has adopted of raising duties on imported goods risks delaying a much-anticipated drop in interest rates, forcing the Fed to keep monetary policy tight for longer. Indeed, the U.S. presidential candidate's campaign promises to impose across-the-board import duties to protect the domestic market could cost U.S. consumers dearly. According to one estimate, Trump's proposal for a 10% duty on all imports could cost Americans $500 billion annually. Economic forecasts paint a rather bleak picture of the immediate consequences of tariff policy. Potential long-term benefits, such as increased domestic industry and reduced dependence on foreign goods, come with serious short-term sacrifices. Higher prices for consumer goods, combined with a possible delay in rate cuts, could lead to a period of economic turbulence. This scenario highlights the difficult balance that policymakers have to strike in protecting domestic interests while maintaining overall economic stability. The U.S.-China trade relationship is a critical component of the global economy, and any major disruption would not only affect the countries directly involved, but also set off a chain reaction in global markets. U.S. strategic maneuvers to impose duties are often seen as attempts to curb China's growing economic influence. However, such actions also risk provoking further escalation of trade frictions and retaliation from the PRC. In addition, it is important to consider how the duties will affect individual industries within the U.S. Sectors heavily tied to Chinese imports, such as technology and manufacturing, are likely to face significant challenges. Companies will have to restructure supply chains, find alternative suppliers, or incur additional costs, which will inevitably affect their competitiveness and profitability. At the same time, industries that compete directly with Chinese imports may benefit from the easing of competitive pressures. A more decisive and deliberate approach could open new opportunities for the U.S. to shape a growth-oriented economy. As the U.S. presidential election approaches, the discourse around duties and trade policy is only likely to gain momentum. Candidates will continue to advocate measures that they believe will protect American jobs and industries. But the economic feasibility of such measures will remain a key point of debate. The outcome of the election will undoubtedly determine the future direction of U.S. trade policy and its impact on the economy. In the broader context of international trade, U.S. actions set the tone for other countries. As the world's largest economy, the U.S. has a significant influence on global trade policy. Other nations may respond to U.S. duties by introducing protectionist measures of their own, leading to an overall increase in trade barriers around the world and creating a less interconnected global economy, with all the implications for growth and stability. The role of international organizations such as the World Trade Organization becomes particularly important in this regard. The scope of their work includes the promotion of free trade and the resolution of trade disputes. but the increasing use of duties and other trade barriers is challenging the principles of free trade and forcing these organizations to adapt to a changing landscape. The effectiveness of international structures in managing such challenges will be a key factor in determining the future of global trade relations. The economic and geopolitical dimensions of tariff policy are closely intertwined. U.S. actions to impose duties on Chinese goods reflect broader strategic objectives that go beyond pure economics. These steps are also aimed at curbing China's growing influence and asserting U.S. dominance in the global economic order. However, the complexity of the potential unintended consequences of such actions requires careful analysis and strategic planning. The debate around duties and trade policy is not only an economic issue but also a political one. It involves weighing the immediate benefits of protecting domestic industries against the long-term consequences for the economy as a whole and for international relations. Policymakers need to maneuver through these complexities and make decisions that balance different interests. The impact of duties on consumers is another critical aspect of the problem. Raising tariffs on imported goods can lead to higher prices for a wide range of products, from basic necessities to expensive purchases. This will reduce the purchasing power of the population and negatively affect living standards. The burden of high prices is particularly acute for the poor, exacerbating existing economic inequalities. Potential increases in interest rates due to tariff policies add another layer of complexity. High rates make credit more expensive for consumers and businesses, which slows economic growth and could lead to recession. The Fed faces the difficult task of balancing the need to control inflation with the need to maintain economic growth. The long-term effects of tariff policy on the U.S. economy will depend on a variety of factors: the duration and magnitude of the duties, the reaction of other countries, and the overall health of the global economy. Policymakers need to be prepared to adjust their strategies as circumstances change and new information becomes available. In conclusion, I would like to thank everyone who watched this video to the end. If you liked it, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Your support is very important to us. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Good luck and prosperity to all.